Okay, this is the Mac Daddy here. This is a bonus video because I'm in a good mood. This is like the day after Father's Day, and I had a good Father's Day. So here's another video I'm going to make. I'm going to talk about this guy right here. Check this out. This is a cool looking tool. Now, some people probably already know what this is, but what this is called is a hammer block. Now, I got this from Amazon, and Amazon called this a trigger test fixture. Okay, this cost me $20. It's worth $20 because I spend like over $30 just to fill the tank up on my little car. Curse you, Joe Biden. And so $20 is a good deal because this thing will last forever. And I'm going to show you how you use this. This is mainly used. There's like 3 ways you could use this. The first way you could use this is to test. Is anyone who builds or assembles their own AR-15s, they have to test to make sure that the lower receiver and all the parts in it are working properly. Now, to do that, you need to use this because every time when you have your receiver hanging out like this, if you pull the trigger, this hammer will come up and it'll hit your receiver. It will actually damage your receiver because these receivers, they're just made out of aluminum, and they're not that hard. They're like pretty soft. So this keeps your hammer from damaging your receiver. And to put this in here, you notice a little hole here. You got to sort of stick it through these forward lugs here and line the little bastard up. Now I have trouble. There we go. So now it's installed. Cool. Now, like I said, I've assembled 3 of these lowers so far, and you buy the strip lower, and you buy a parts kit, and you buy a buffer tube and stock set. This is an Anderson manufacturing lower, $50. All the parts that are in the lower here, the fire control group, etc., they're also an Anderson manufacturing parts kit, $40. And the buffer tube and stock assembly I got from a company called CDNN. I think they're based in Texas. And this cost me $50. And you can see the little orange thing in here. That is a Accu wedge to make sure it fits tight on your upper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this right now to test this fire control group. And you start with the hammer already cocked. First thing you do is you're going to check your safety. You just make sure right now that the safety switch is smooth and it works properly. And you start with the gun in the safe position, and you just try to pull the trigger. And the hammer should not drop, right? So now what you do is you flip your safety from safe to fire, and that hammer should not have dropped. That's one of the things that you could have a problem with. These lowers are mil-spec. The mil-specs are very tight. So the tolerances are tight, so most of these parts are just all interchangeable. Once in a while, you'll get one that's got a problem. So this is why you got to check to make sure it's safe to work, that it's working properly. So you've seen that you got the safety you've checked, and you have it on fire right now. So what you want to do is it's cocked. You just give it a little rap to make sure that it's being held properly. It's not going to drop when you get a little shock. So what you're going to do now is you're going to pull the trigger and hold the trigger. Okay? Now you're just going to cock that hammer again. Now if you look carefully, this hammer is now being held by the disconnector instead of the trigger. So what I want you to do now is you're still holding the trigger. What you do is you slowly release pressure on the trigger. Slowly. You notice that the hammer popped up a little bit? That's the trigger resetting. The disconnector has let go of the hammer, and the hammer is resting now on the notch that's resting on the trigger. The part of the trigger in the back that's the sear, I guess you call it. So now this gun is ready to fire again. So what I want you to do now is I want you to pull the trigger and hold it again, just like you did the last time. Cock the trigger again like you did last time. It's being held by the disconnector. Give it a couple of bops to make sure that it doesn't drop. Now I want you to release that trigger quickly, not slowly. and you notice that it reset fine, that's good. So you know what? This looks good. And it's easy, like I said, it's easy to check. Piece of cake. So now, the third thing you can use this hammer block for is you can use it to dry fire this lower here. The nice thing that with this is that, well, before you test it to dry fire, you can also use this to measure how much force it takes to pull the trigger. They have machines or a little tool that'll go on your trigger and you pull it, and it'll tell you once the trigger fires, it'll tell you how much pressure it took to fire the trigger. It'll tell you in pounds and ounces how much that force was. If you happen to live in another country that didn't land men on the moon, then it would be in kilograms, I guess, metric. Anyway, so that's that's the second way you can test it. You could use this hammer block. The third way is that like I said, you could dry fire this thing as much as you want. You could dry fire this all day long. And the cool thing is that the more you dry fire this thing, the more smoother this trigger is going to get, because you're just wearing it in. The other thing you dry fire for is you get a better feel for just pulling that trigger. You can get used to pulling that trigger without causing the gun to move. So it'll help you with your trigger control. The nice thing is that when it's apart like this, is you don't have to worry about this big long gun out here hanging out. You don't have to worry about pointing the gun at someone and scaring someone, because there's no gun on this thing. There's nothing that can fire in this gun, because there's no upper for it. Okay. So what I usually do is I'll just take it like this, and I'll just pretend that I've got it up against my cheek, and I'm looking down the sights, and I'm looking down right now at a zombie that's trying to eat my freaking brains. So what I do is I just practice shooting the zombie right in the middle of the forehead. No brains for you, asshole. Okay. So you just cock it again, and let's see, what am I going to think of? This time I'm looking through here, and I'm pretending that there's a space alien coming after me to give me some freaking anal probe or something, and I just shoot right for the middle of his green, disgusting little body. Bang! Stay away from my butt. Okay. I'll do one more for you guys, and I'm shooting at a nice big, delicious-looking boar, wild boar here. Get in my belly. So you can dry fire this as much as you want, and especially for kids, it helps them, like I said, with trigger, to keep this thing steady when you pull the trigger. See? So this is a great tool, and this thing will last forever. $20. Everyone should have one of these if you got an AR-15. If you build your own AR-15, you gotta have this. Okay. So I want to thank my wife again for this video, taking this video, and that's all I have to say for today. Goodbye, folks.